of the things that's been coming up a lot in my coaching recently is the idea of seeking permission from others. And I see this time and time again. This is a point that gets people stuck constantly, and they don't even realize it. I'll give you an example. So, spoke with a client earlier this morning, and he had arrived at a point where, the business was starting to grow, not as quickly as he would like, but was really starting to wonder, should we go and try to raise money for this business or take it at a little bit of a slower pace? And there was a sense of dissatisfaction from my client. He really had a lot of plans and ideas for what he would do if he had more capital, but there was something holding him back. And as we were digging in, it became very, very clear that he was waiting for permission from somebody else to tell him that it was okay to go faster. He himself doesn't mind taking risk in his own life. He's a high risk, high reward sort of individual, but because he has stakeholders that have their own ideas of how quickly a business should be growing or not, he was really anchored in these assumptions that the business should be grown profitably, it should be more bootstrapped, and that was really kind of defining the conditions or the constraints in which he was operating. And the funny thing is, as we explored this more, it came out that, in fact, the stakeholders in the business were in full support of what he wanted to do and what direction he wanted to take the business in. But he was really waiting for someone to say, you can take this risk, you can go raise more money and go faster for this business. And this reminds me of all the times where I myself have sought permission to do certain things, sought permission to have a difficult conversation with a colleague, for example, or sought permission to build a company in the way that I want to build it. The thing is, nothing great happens because we look towards everyone else and ask them, is this okay for me to do? It's easy for us to forget that we have our own agency, that we have an ability to affect the world around us. And when we forget that, then we're in this constant mode of seeking approval, looking for signals from others that it's okay for me to do the thing that I actually want to do, but I'm not quite sure if it will make me look bad, or if people are going to like me or dislike me for having chosen this sort of action or behavior. So you can imagine how this becomes such an Achilles heel for people when they're leading businesses. They get so caught up in wondering what others around them will think that they lose touch with their own compass, their own wisdom, their own desires, until all they can ever do is look towards others and ask them, what do you think I should do? So pay attention and notice where you're looking for permission from others and how that might be compromising your own inner knowing and your own intuition for where you should take things. A hint is when you're feeling uncomfortable about a certain decision. If you're feeling tension, that's a sign that there's a part of you that wants to move in a certain direction, and perhaps there's another party that's holding you back. Now, that part that's holding you back might be born out of prior experiences, being in similar situations, but it also might be born out of some narrative in your mind about what others might think if you choose this path. Of course, taking a certain path doesn't mean people won't be unhappy or that they won't disapprove. And obviously we have to make decisions and accept the consequences of those decisions. Everything's got a trade-off. But at the end of the day, what you have to ask yourself is, what kind of life do I want to live? Is it one that's based off of getting everyone else's approval? Or is it life on my own terms? And am I willing to accept the consequences of making those decisions? There's no right or wrong answer, but it's something to pay attention to, especially if you're in a leadership position and people are looking to you to make a lot of these calls. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this, and see you in the next one.